There are moments in life that seem small when they happen. Moments that don't scream danger. Moments that don't feel dramatic enough to remember. But later, those moments become the ones you replay over and over, wondering how you didn't see the truth sooner. For me, it was an ordinary evening. So ordinary that I almost forget it happened at all, until I remember how my daughter looked at me. The house was quiet in a way that only grief-filled homes understand. Not peaceful. Just hollow. Ever since my husband died, silence had become a permanent resident in our walls. The laughter was gone. The noise of arguments, late-night conversations, even the small irritations of daily life. Gone. All that remained was space. Empty rooms. Long pauses between sounds. I was standing in the kitchen, barefoot on cold tiles, staring at a glass of water on the counter. Inside my palm were 2 small pills. White. Round. Harmless looking? Aunt Maya's vitamins, I told myself. That's what she always called them. She said they would help me sleep, help calm my nerves, help me function again. You can't pour from an empty cup, she used to say with a soft smile. And you've been empty for a long time. She wasn't wrong. After my husband's death, my body had become a stranger to me. I forgot things. I cried at random moments. Some days I couldn't even bring myself to shower. Other days, I felt strangely numb, like I was watching my life from outside my own body. That's when Aunt Maya stepped in. She was my late husband's older sister. Confident, organized, the kind of woman who always seemed to know what to do while everyone else froze. She cooked meals I didn't have the energy to make. She handled paperwork I couldn't focus on. She spoke to doctors when my voice shook too much to speak. Everyone said I was lucky to have her. I believed them. So there I was, pills in hand, water ready, about to swallow them like I had every night for months. And then my daughter spoke. "Mom, don't take those." Her voice stopped me mid-motion. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was small. Too small. I turned around, expecting to see her half asleep, maybe complaining for no reason the way children sometimes do. But she wasn't sleepy. She was standing at the edge of the hallway, gripping the doorframe so tightly her knuckles were pale. Her hair was messy, her pajamas wrinkled, but her eyes were wide open, watching me. Not curious, not annoyed. Afraid. I smiled automatically, the way parents do when they don't want to alarm their children. "Why not, sweetheart?" I asked lightly. "These are just vitamins." She didn't answer. She took a step closer, then another. Her eyes never left the pills in my hand. "I don't like them," she whispered. Something about the way she said it made my chest tighten. I laughed softly, trying to keep the moment normal. "You don't have to like them," I said. "They're for adults." That's when she shook her head. Not playfully, not stubbornly, desperately. "Mom," she said again, her voice trembling now, "you're different after you take them." I paused. Different how? I wanted to ask, but I didn't want to encourage fear. Children pick up on anxiety easily. I had already put her through enough with the loss of her father. "I just get sleepy," I said. "That's normal." But she wasn't convinced. "You forget things," she said quietly. "You forget me sometimes." The words hit harder than I expected. "That's not true," I replied too quickly. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. She stepped even closer now, close enough that I could see tears forming in her eyes. "Sometimes I call you," she continued, "and you don't answer." I swallowed. "You're asleep," I said. "No," she whispered. "You're not." That was the moment the room felt colder. I crouched down in front of her, placing the pills on the counter behind me. "I'm right here," I said gently. "I'm okay." She looked at me like she wasn't sure that was true. Then she said something that I still hear in my dreams. "Please don't take them tonight." Just that. No explanation. No drama. Just a child asking her mother not to disappear. I hugged her, holding her close, feeling how small she felt in my arms. Everything's fine, I told her. Aunt Maya knows what she's doing. Her body stiffened when I said the name. She didn't argue. She just nodded slowly, the way children do when they know they've lost. I tucked her into bed that night, brushing her hair back, kissing her forehead. "Good night, Mom," she said. Her voice sounded unsure. When I returned to the kitchen, the pills were still there, waiting. I stared at them for a long time. Then I took them. That night, as I drifted into sleep, my daughter's face floated in my mind, not crying, not screaming, just watching me. And deep down, buried under exhaustion and denial, a quiet thought surfaced. Why would a child be afraid of medicine meant to help her mother? That was the first warning, and I ignored it. Looking back now, I understand something I didn't then. The mind doesn't break all at once. It fades. Quietly. Gradually. So gently that you convince yourself nothing is wrong. After the night my daughter begged me not to take the pills, I promised myself I would pay closer attention. I told myself I would notice changes. I would be more present. I would prove to her and to myself that everything was fine. But the truth is, I didn't become more aware. I became more numb. Days began to blur together in ways that frightened me, though I rarely admitted it out loud. Mornings arrived without memories of falling asleep. Evenings ended without any clear sense of how the day had been spent. I would open my eyes and feel as though I had been dropped back into my life without context, like someone had pressed pause on me and then resumed playback hours later. Aunt Maya noticed before I did. "You're finally resting," she said one morning as she set a cup of tea in front of me. "You've needed this." Her voice was always calm, steady, reassuring. The kind of voice that makes you doubt your own instincts. She had fully taken over the rhythm of our home by then. She decided what we ate, what time we slept, when I should lie down, just for a bit. And I let her. Because grief had left me tired in ways sleep could not fix. Because thinking felt heavy. Because trusting someone else was easier than trusting myself. My daughter, on the other hand, was changing in the opposite direction. She grew quieter, but more alert. She watched everything. She noticed when I forgot promises I had made her just hours earlier. She noticed when I asked the same question twice. She noticed when I stood in the doorway of a room, unsure why I had walked there in the first place. One afternoon, she held my hand while we crossed the street. She didn't let go when we reached the other side. "Mom," she asked softly, "do you remember what day it is?" I laughed awkwardly. Of course I do. But I didn't. And the fear in her eyes told me she knew that. At night, the house felt different after the pills. The lights seemed dimmer. The walls felt farther away. My thoughts slowed until they melted into one another. Sometimes I would wake up on the couch instead of my bed. Sometimes I would wake up with the television on, playing shows I didn't remember choosing. Once I woke up to find the front door unlocked. Aunt Maya said I must have forgotten. "You've always been a bit absent-minded," she said gently, "especially these days." Her words wrapped around my confusion like a blanket. I stopped questioning, but my daughter didn't. She started sleeping lightly, waking at every sound. She flinched when Aunt Maya entered a room. She followed me around the house, asking small questions, testing me. What did we eat yesterday? What movie did we watch? Who picked me up from school? Each time I hesitated, her face fell just a little more. One night, as I tucked her into bed, she held my wrist. "Mom, can you promise something?" "Yes," I said without thinking. "Promise you won't forget me." The words sliced through me. "I could never forget you," I replied, forcing a smile. But when I turned off the light, I stood in the hallway for a long time, my heart pounding. Because I wasn't sure that was true. Aunt Maya began speaking for me when others were around. "She's not feeling well today," she'd tell neighbors. She gets confused easily now. Grief does that. I noticed she never said these things to me, only about me. Once I overheard her on the phone late at night. Her voice was low. "Yes, she's very dependent now," she said. "I handle everything." I stood frozen in the hallway, my head swimming. When she noticed me, she smiled like nothing had happened. "You should be in bed," she said. "You look exhausted." And I believed her. But my daughter didn't sleep that night. She came into my room after midnight, climbing into bed beside me. "Aunt Maya was talking," she whispered. "To who?" I murmured. "I don't know," she said. "But she said your name." I pulled her close, telling her it was probably nothing. Children imagine things. That's what I told myself. Still, something had shifted. I started to notice how Aunt Maya always made sure she handed me the pills herself, how she watched until I swallowed them, how she never forgot a dose, but encouraged me to forget everything else. I noticed how she discouraged me from driving. "You're not in the right state," she'd say. "I'll take care of it." I noticed how she began managing my finances to reduce stress. I noticed, but I didn't act, because acting required clarity. And clarity was exactly what I was losing. One evening, my daughter sat at the table while I stared at a notebook, trying to write a grocery list. Milk. Bread. I paused. Why had I picked up the pen? My daughter slid the notebook toward her. "I'll help," she said. She was 9 years old. She wrote while I watched, my mind foggy, my hands trembling slightly. That was the moment something inside me cracked. A child should not have to take care of her mother. That night, after my daughter fell asleep, I stood in the bathroom staring at my reflection. My eyes looked dull. My face looked older. Unfamiliar. On the counter sat the pill bottle. For the first time, I didn't feel grateful. I felt afraid. And deep down, a thought formed, slow, heavy, undeniable. What if my daughter is right? That was the moment I began to wonder. But wondering wasn't enough. Not yet. There comes a moment when fear stops whispering and starts demanding to be heard. For me, that moment didn't arrive suddenly. It crept in through small cracks, unfinished thoughts, forgotten hours, and the quiet way my daughter watched me like she was guarding something fragile. After the night I stood in the bathroom staring at my reflection, something shifted inside me. Not clarity. Resistance. For the first time in months, I felt the urge to hold on to myself. The next morning, I woke before Aunt Maya. That alone felt strange. Usually, she was already awake, moving through the house like a caretaker who never slept. But that day, the house was still. No clinking dishes, no soft humming from the kitchen. I sat on the edge of my bed, my head pounding, my mouth dry. And for once, I didn't immediately reach for the pills. Instead, I sat there, thinking, or at least trying to. My daughter was still asleep. Her door was slightly open, the soft rhythm of her breathing drifting into the hallway. I stood there watching her for a moment longer than necessary, overcome by a wave of guilt so strong it nearly made my knees buckle. She had been carrying fear alone, and I had been letting her. That was when I made the decision. I would see a doctor, alone. No Aunt Maya, no explanations, no permission. The thought terrified me, not because I feared the doctor, but because I feared what Aunt Maya would say if she found out. That realization alone scared me more than anything else. When she woke up, I acted normal. I smiled. I drank the tea she prepared. I nodded when she reminded me about rest. But when she placed the pill bottle beside my plate, something in me hesitated. "I'll take it later," I said casually. Her eyes flicked to the bottle. Just for a second. Then she smiled. "Of course," she replied. "Don't forget." Her tone was gentle, but it felt like a warning. That afternoon, after dropping my daughter at school, I didn't drive home. I drove to the clinic. The building looked ordinary, too ordinary for something that felt so important. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and old magazines. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second echoing in my chest. I filled out the forms slowly. Name, age, symptoms. When it came time to list medications, my pen hovered over the paper. I realized something then. I didn't know the names of the pills. I just wrote, supplements. When the nurse called my name, I nearly didn't recognize it. The doctor was a middle-aged man with tired eyes and a calm voice, the kind of person who looked like he had seen too much to be easily shocked. He asked about my sleep, my memory, my mood. As I answered, I noticed him watching me closely, not judging, assessing. Then he asked the question I hadn't prepared for. What medications are you currently taking? My hands trembled as I reached into my bag and pulled out the bottle. The doctor took it from me, and something changed. He turned the bottle slowly, reading the label, his brow tightening almost imperceptibly. He tapped the bottom, listening to the pills shift inside. How long have you been taking these? He asked. Several months, I replied. My sister-in-law gives them to me. Who prescribed them? He asked. I hesitated. She said they were natural, I answered weakly, that they would help me cope. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he set the bottle down carefully, like it was something dangerous. These are not vitamins, he said. I laughed. A short, embarrassed sound. Oh, well, maybe they're just mislabeled. No, he interrupted gently. These are sedatives. The room tilted. Strong ones, not supplements, not stress aids. Sedatives. My heart began racing. They're not meant to be taken daily, he continued, and certainly not at this dosage. I felt suddenly cold. But I've been taking them every night, I whispered. He looked at me then, really looked at me. That explains a lot, he said quietly. He ordered blood tests immediately. As the nurse prepared the needle, panic surged through me. What if I was imagining everything? What if Aunt Maya was right, and I was just broken? As the needle slid into my arm, I stared at the wall, my mind spinning. When I left the clinic, the sun felt too bright, too sharp. I sat in my car for a long time before starting the engine. That evening, I didn't take the pills. I told Aunt Maya I had forgotten. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. That night was different. My thoughts didn't dissolve. My dreams were vivid. I woke up remembering where I was. For the first time in months, I felt present. The next morning, the phone rang. It was the doctor. His voice was serious. You need to come in today, he said, as soon as possible. My stomach dropped. I picked up my daughter from school early and asked a neighbor to watch her. When I returned to the clinic, the doctor didn't ask me to sit down first. The levels in your blood are extremely concerning, he said. He explained how the medication had been building up in my system, how it caused confusion, memory loss, emotional dependency. Then he said the words that froze me completely. Someone has been intentionally keeping you sedated. I couldn't breathe, he continued, his voice steady. Based on the concentrations, the dosage was recently increased. Recently. I thought of my daughter, of her fear growing stronger, of Aunt Maya watching me swallow the pills. A truth settled over me like ice. This wasn't help. It was control. And suddenly everything made sense. There are truths that don't arrive like explosions. They arrive like ice water, slowly soaking in, stealing your breath, numbing you before you realize you're freezing. I sat across from the doctor, staring at a sheet of paper covered in numbers I didn't understand. But I understood his face. He didn't look alarmed. He looked concerned. The kind of concern reserved for situations that have gone on for too long. These results explain why you've been experiencing dissociation, he said. Why your memory has been unreliable, why your emotional responses have been muted. Muted. That word echoed in my mind. He explained that the medication wasn't just sedating my body, it was suppressing my nervous system. It slows reaction time, he said. It creates dependence. It dulls fear, motivation, and decision-making. I swallowed hard. That's why you haven't felt alarmed, he added gently. Even when you should have. Something inside me shattered. All the moments I brushed off. All the doubts I silenced. All the fear my daughter carried alone. It wasn't weakness. It was chemistry. You didn't do this to yourself, the doctor continued. But someone did this to you. The words hung between us like smoke. He explained how prolonged exposure could cause permanent damage, how some patients never fully regain clarity if the medication is stopped too late. How long? I asked, my voice barely audible. He hesitated. You were approaching the threshold, he said honestly. Approaching. I thought of how close I had come to disappearing. He told me something else then, something that made my hands go numb. These medications are often used in cases of coercive control, he said. They're designed to make people compliant. Compliant. Not healed. Not supported. Managed. I felt sick. Who has access to your medication? He asked. I didn't answer right away. Because answering meant saying her name out loud. My sister-in-law, I finally said. He nodded slowly. Do you live with her? Yes. Another pause. Does she manage your finances? Yes. Does she make decisions on your behalf? Yes. Each answer felt like another door closing behind me. She's been increasing your dosage, he said. Gradually, carefully. He pointed to a section on the report. This spike happened recently. Recently. The same week my daughter began sleeping with her door locked. The same week Aunt Maya insisted I stop driving. The same week she told a neighbor I was not stable. I felt dizzy. The doctor stood and handed me a glass of water. You need to stop taking the medication immediately, he said. But you cannot confront her yet. The word confront sent a jolt through me. Why? I asked. Because people who exert this kind of control don't react well when they're exposed, he said quietly. I left the clinic feeling like the world had shifted slightly off its axis. The drive home felt unreal. Every familiar street looked different, like I was seeing it for the first time. Or maybe, for the first time clearly. When I walked through the front door, Aunt Maya was waiting. You're back early, she said pleasantly. I forced a smile. Doctor's orders, I replied. She studied my face longer than usual. You look tired, she said. Did you take your pills? The question felt heavier now. No, I said carefully. I forgot. She laughed softly. You really can't afford to forget, she said. Those help you function. I nodded, but inside something burned. That night I watched her. I noticed things I had ignored before. How she locked away paperwork. How she kept my phone close. How she corrected me when I spoke about plans. You don't remember it right, she'd say gently. Let me explain. And people believed her. Because she sounded reasonable. Because I sounded confused. Later that evening, my daughter pulled me aside. She whispered, You didn't take them, did you? I shook my head. She exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. She gets angry when you don't, my daughter said. When? I asked. When you're asleep. The room felt smaller. That night I lay awake listening. For the first time I didn't drift. I didn't fade. I heard Aunt Maya moving around the house long after midnight. Opening drawers. Closing doors. At one point she stood outside my bedroom. I pretended to sleep. She stayed there longer than necessary. The next morning she insisted on handing me the pills herself. I took them. I pretended to swallow. Then I went to the bathroom and flushed them. My hands shook so badly I had to sit down. This wasn't care. It was a slow erasure. And I was only just waking up. The doctor called again later that day. "We need to involve authorities," he said. "This qualifies as medical abuse." Medical abuse. The phrase sounded unreal. He warned me not to be alone with her for long periods, to prepare quietly, to protect my child. That night, as my daughter slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling. I realized something that made my chest ache. My daughter hadn't just been scared. She had been watching me disappear. And she had tried to save me. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, I stayed awake. Afraid, alert, and finally aware. People think confrontations are loud. They imagine shouting, tears, anger spilling everywhere. But the most frightening confrontations are quiet. Because when someone has been controlling you slowly, patiently, lovingly, they don't panic when you start to see the truth. They adapt. The morning after the doctor's warning, I woke up before the sun. My body felt different. Not strong, not healed, but awake. Every sound felt sharper. Every thought felt heavier. I could feel fear again, and that alone told me how much of myself I had lost. I didn't leave the bedroom right away. I listened. Aunt Maya was already awake. I could hear her in the kitchen, moving with the same calm efficiency she always had. The sound of the kettle, the clink of cups. Normal. Too normal. My daughter stirred beside me. Her eyes opened slowly, then widened when she saw I was awake too. "You didn't disappear," she whispered. The words shattered me. I kissed her forehead and promised her I wouldn't leave her side. Not again. When we entered the kitchen, Aunt Maya looked up and smiled. "There you are," she said warmly. "I made your tea." She slid the cup toward me. Beside it, the pills. Placed carefully, deliberately. She watched my face, waiting. I sat down. Didn't reach for them. "I'm not taking those anymore," I said. The room didn't explode. Aunt Maya didn't shout. She tilted her head slightly, as if I'd said something mildly confusing. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I went to the doctor," I replied. There it was. The first crack. Her smile didn't disappear, but it hardened. "Without telling me?" she asked softly. "I needed to," I said. She sighed and sat across from me. "I wish you wouldn't do impulsive things," she said. "That's part of the problem." My daughter stiffened beside me. "They aren't vitamins," I continued. "They're sedatives." Aunt Maya leaned back in her chair. "So?" she said calmly. That single word terrified me more than anger ever could. "So, you've been drugging me," I said. She didn't deny it. She folded her hands neatly on the table. "You were falling apart," she said. "You couldn't manage yourself, or your child." My daughter flinched. "I was helping," Aunt Maya continued. "You needed structure, control." "You made me forget," I said. "You made yourself forget," she corrected. "I just made it easier." The cruelty in her logic stole my breath. I asked her why. And this time, she told the truth. "Your husband left everything in chaos," she said. "Insurance, property, accounts." My stomach dropped. "You were unstable," she continued. "No one would have questioned it if I stepped in." I stared at her. "You were planning to take my life from me," I whispered. She looked almost offended. "I was planning to manage it better than you ever could." My daughter stood up suddenly. "Stop," she cried. "You're hurting my mom." Aunt Maya turned to her slowly. "This doesn't concern you," she said coldly. Something inside me snapped. "It concerns her more than anyone," I said. I stood up, my legs shaking but steady enough to hold me. "You used my grief," I said. "You used my trust." "You used your weakness," she replied. "I just didn't look away." That was the moment I realized something terrifying. She didn't think she had done anything wrong. She believed she was right. I took my daughter's hand. "We're leaving," I said. Aunt Maya laughed softly. "You can't," she said. "You don't even know where the documents are." I looked at her. "You forget something," I said. "I remember now." Her eyes darkened. "You won't get far," she said quietly. "And no one will believe you." I leaned closer. "They already do," I said. That was the first time she looked afraid. Not panicked, but exposed. We left the house with only a bag of clothes. As we stepped outside, my daughter squeezed my hand. "I knew you'd wake up," she said. Behind us, Aunt Maya stood in the doorway, watching, not screaming, not chasing, just calculating. And I knew then, this wasn't over yet. People think escape is a moment. A door closing, a car driving away, freedom. But real escape is a process. And the most dangerous part is the time between realizing the truth and being truly safe. We didn't go far at first. I drove with my hands shaking on the steering wheel, my daughter sitting silently beside me, clutching her backpack like it was the only solid thing left in the world. The familiar streets blurred past us, but they no longer felt familiar. Every red light felt too long. Every car behind us felt suspicious. I kept checking the rearview mirror. "She's not following us," my daughter whispered. Not yet, I thought. We went to a small motel on the edge of town, the kind of place people don't notice, don't ask questions. The room smelled faintly of cleaning solution and old carpet, but to me, it felt like shelter. For the first time in months, I locked the door myself. I sat on the bed and tried to breathe. That's when the fear hit. Not the fear of Aunt Maya. The fear of how close I had come to losing myself completely. My daughter climbed onto the bed beside me and rested her head on my shoulder. "I thought if I kept watching you, you wouldn't disappear," she said. Her words broke something inside me. Children shouldn't have to guard their parents from vanishing. That night, neither of us slept much. Every sound outside made my heart race. Footsteps in the hallway, a door slamming somewhere down the corridor. I imagined Aunt Maya's calm voice at the front desk, asking for our room number with that same polite smile. She never came. But the fear stayed. The next morning, I called the doctor. "I left," I told him. "You did the right thing," he said. "Now we make it official." He instructed me to go to the police immediately. Walking into the police station felt unreal, like stepping into someone else's story. I told them everything. The pills, the tests, the control, the financial manipulation. The officer listening to me didn't interrupt. He didn't rush me. He took notes carefully, occasionally glancing at my daughter, who sat quietly beside me, her feet not touching the floor. When I finished, the officer leaned back and sighed. "This is medical abuse," he said, "and coercive control." Hearing those words from someone else made my knees weak. They contacted the doctor. They requested the lab results. They asked about the medication. And then they asked something that made my stomach drop. "Do you know where your sister-in-law is right now?" I shook my head. They didn't tell me everything, but I could tell something was already moving. That afternoon, my phone rang. Aunt Maya's name lit up the screen. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "You're confused," she said gently. "You always get like this when you stop your medication." My hands trembled as I deleted it. Then another call. Then another. Text messages followed. "You're making a mistake. You're not thinking clearly. You're scaring your daughter." That one hurt the most. The police advised me not to respond, but the damage was already done. That night, my daughter asked me something that made my heart ache. "What if she's right?" she whispered. "What if you forget again?" I held her close. "Then we'll face it together," I said. but I won't let anyone silence us again. The next day, the police searched the house. They found the medication. They found altered documents. They found notes, lists of appointments I didn't remember, conversations I hadn't had. And something else, a draft application to declare me mentally unfit. Dated weeks earlier. She had been preparing. The officers didn't tell me much, but they didn't need to. The truth was undeniable now. That evening, I received a call from a detective. "We've taken her into custody for questioning," he said. I felt no relief. Only exhaustion. Because even then, a part of me expected her to talk her way out of it. She always did. But this time she didn't. The evidence was too clear. The medical testimony too strong. My daughter's statement, quiet, precise, heartbreaking, sealed it. When they told me she was being charged, I sat down on the motel bed and cried for the first time since my husband died. Not from grief. From release. Still, safety didn't come immediately. We moved again. Changed routines. Stayed alert. I learned how deep psychological control can run, how even after escape, you question your own thoughts. Some nights I woke up reaching for pills that weren't there. Some mornings I doubted my memories. But my daughter watched me less now. She laughed more. And slowly, the fog began to lift. One evening, as we sat eating takeout on the motel bed, she looked at me and smiled. "You're back," she said. I realized then something profound. Escape isn't the moment you leave. Escape is the moment your child stops being afraid of losing you. And that moment had finally arrived. When the danger ends, people expect relief. They imagine a clean break fear on one side, safety on the other. But trauma doesn't work that way. Trauma lingers. Even after the threat is gone, it stays in the body, in the pauses between breaths, in the way your mind hesitates before trusting itself again. The days after Aunt Maya's arrest were strangely quiet. Too quiet. There were no more phone calls, no messages, no calm voice reminding me what I should or shouldn't do. And yet, I still found myself waiting for permission. Permission to rest. Permission to speak. Permission to believe my own thoughts. My daughter and I moved into a small temporary apartment arranged through a support program. It was nothing special. Thin walls, mismatched furniture, but it was ours. No one else held the keys. The first night there, I sat on the floor and cried, not because I was sad, because I was finally alone with my own mind, and I didn't trust it yet. My daughter watched me carefully in those early days. Not with fear anymore, with caution. She still checked to see if I was awake in the mornings. She still asked the same questions sometimes, testing my memory gently, like touching a bruise to see if it still hurt. What did we eat last night? Where did we put my shoes? What day is it? And every time I answered correctly, her shoulders relaxed just a little more. I started therapy soon after. The therapist explained something that changed everything for me. "You weren't weak," she said. "You were conditioned." She told me about coercive control, how it slowly reshapes a person's reality, how it replaces instinct with obedience. "It's not about force," she explained. "It's about erosion." That word stayed with me. Erosion. Like water wearing down stone. I began to understand why I hadn't fought back sooner, why doubt felt easier than resistance. But understanding didn't erase the guilt. At night, I replayed moments I wished I could rewrite. The night my daughter begged me not to take the pills. The times I dismissed her fear. The way she learned to protect me when I should have been protecting her. One evening, after therapy, I sat on the couch staring at nothing. My daughter sat beside me. "Mom," she said quietly, "are you mad at yourself?" The honesty of the question took my breath away. "Yes," I admitted. "Sometimes." She thought about that. I was mad too, she said. But I was more scared. Tears filled my eyes. I'm sorry, I whispered. I should have listened. She leaned into me. You did, she said softly. Just late. Her forgiveness was gentle, but mine was harder to earn. Slowly, life began to fill in again. We created routines that belonged only to us. Saturday pancakes, evening walks, small rituals that anchored us in the present. I relearned how to make decisions, simple ones at first. What to cook, what to wear, where to go. Each choice felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Some days were easier than others. There were moments when I froze in grocery stores, overwhelmed by options. Moments when a well-meaning comment about grief sent me spiraling. But my daughter noticed the progress. You don't stare into space anymore, she said one day. You look here. She tapped my chest. Healing didn't mean forgetting. It meant remembering without falling apart. The court process moved forward slowly. I was shielded from most of it, but sometimes details slipped through. Aunt Maya never admitted wrongdoing. She insisted she had only been helping. That used to make me angry. Now it made me sad. Because some people never see the damage they cause, especially when control feels like care to them. One night, months later, my daughter climbed into bed beside me again, not because she was afraid, but because she wanted to. She rested her head on my shoulder and sighed. You don't scare me anymore, she said sleepily. I held her close, my heart aching. I never wanted to, I whispered. I know, she said. And in that moment I realized something important. Healing isn't about becoming who you were before. It's about becoming someone safer than you were, for yourself, and for the child who believed in you even when you didn't. Time changes many things. It softens sharp memories. It quiets loud fears. It teaches the body how to breathe again. But some lessons don't fade. They settle deep inside you and become part of how you see the world. Years have passed since the night my daughter asked me not to take the pills. On the surface, life looks normal now. We wake up to the same mornings as everyone else. We argue about homework. We laugh over burnt toast. We complain about being tired. But beneath that normal life lives an awareness I will never lose. I know now how easily love can be twisted into control. How care can become a weapon. How silence can be more dangerous than violence. For a long time, I avoided telling this story. I was afraid people would ask the wrong questions. Why didn't you notice sooner? Why did you trust her? Why didn't you fight back? But those questions come from people who don't understand how slowly manipulation works. No one wakes up one day and hands over their life. It happens in inches, in small kindnesses, in gentle suggestions, in moments when you are too tired to argue and too broken to doubt. That's what makes it so dangerous. My daughter understands this in a way no child ever should. She learned early that adults can be wrong, that authority doesn't always mean safety, that sometimes the person who seems the most helpful is the one you should watch most closely. I wish she didn't have that knowledge, but I'm proud of her for surviving it. Sometimes late at night she asks questions she never asked before. What would have happened if I didn't say anything? Would you still be here? I don't lie. I don't know, I tell her. But you did speak, and that mattered. She saved my life. Not by being loud, not by being dramatic, but by paying attention, by trusting her fear when everyone else told her not to. That is the lesson I carry with me now. Listen to the quiet warnings. Listen to the discomfort you can't explain. Listen to the child who sees what adults refuse to see. If someone insists you can't survive without them, question it. If someone benefits from your weakness, question it. If someone dismisses your instincts as illness, question it. Because real help does not erase you. It strengthens you. Aunt Maya is no longer part of our lives. I don't hate her. Hate would keep her too close. Instead, I remember her as a reminder of how careful trust must be, and how powerful awareness can become once it returns. Today, when I take medicine, I read every label. When someone offers help, I ask questions. When my daughter speaks, I stop and listen. Every time. Some nights, as I watch her sleep, I think about how close I came to leaving her alone in the world. That thought still freezes me, but it also keeps me awake in the best way. Aware. Present. Alive. If you're listening to this and something in your chest feels tight, don't ignore it. Fear isn't always a warning of danger outside. Sometimes it's a warning of danger within the walls you call home. And sometimes, the smallest voice is the one telling the truth.